This is Pastor Rono, and today my focus is on John chapter 4. Specifically, I want to zero in on verse 23 and verse 24. This is a conversation between Jesus and the Samaritan woman, and it is a conversation that takes place on a well, and this well was dug by Jacob himself, and it was serving the people in this region of Samaria. And Jesus meets this woman in a well. And the discussion is about water. Because this woman has come to fetch water. And Jesus requests for water. But then the discussion moves from physical water to spiritual water. But as it goes along, this conversation turns into a conversation about worship. And that is why in verse 23, Jesus tells the Samaritan woman that God is a spirit. And God is looking for those who worship him in spirit and truth. So God is searching for true worshipers. And my message today is, what kind of a worshiper are you? And as you look at this conversation, as it turns into a conversation about worship, you will realize that this woman is religious. This woman is knowledgeable about a lot of things, even in the Bible, because he talks about Jacob, the patriarch. He talks about the place of worship, that it is this mountain, not Jerusalem. He talks about the salvation that the Jews have brought. He talks about the Messiah, the coming Messiah. And he talks about a prophet, to show that she was knowledgeable. But if you look at this conversation, it is quite clear that there is something that was amiss in this woman. And today, as we look at this topic and ask ourselves, what kind of a worshiper are you? My focus will be on 3 points. And these 3 points specifically will get from this passage, John chapter 4. And the first point that I want to highlight is that your lifestyle matters a lot. If you have to be a true worshiper, your lifestyle matters a lot. You see, when this conversation was going on, and as it was progressing from water to worship, and this woman was told that I can give you, Jesus tells the woman, I will give you living water and you will no longer thirst. This woman said, I want this water. But Jesus tells the woman, go and call your husband. And you realize what this woman said, that I don't have a husband. And Jesus said to the woman that what you have said is true, because you have had 5 husbands, and the one you are living with is not your husband. The lifestyle of a worshiper is very important in the eyes of God. That if we are to be true worshippers of the Almighty God, of the living God, we have to focus so much on the kind of lifestyle that we have. That our lifestyle should be a lifestyle of holiness. It should be a lifestyle of purity, so that we worship God in spirit and in truth. This woman was immoral, if I may use that term. But yet, from this conversation, you will notice that she was a worshiper. She went to place of worship. She worshipped God. That is why he was saying, we Samaritans know whom we are worshiping. And he's talking about the place where they are worshiping. And he's talking about the prophet and the Messiah. But her lifestyle was in question. And that is why Jesus tells the woman, before I give you the living water, let us deal with your lifestyle. Go and call your husband. You know, many a times we think that we can worship God in spirit and truth with our lifestyles that is unholy. But it is quite clear here that for us to be true worshippers, we must change our lifestyles. And I want to ask you, what kind of a lifestyle do you have? It is quite amazing what we do, even in places of worship. That it's as if we have found a way that we can only worship God regardless of the kind of lifestyle we have. So lifestyle matters so much. Your lifestyle matters so much. And it is a lifestyle of holiness that God requires for us to be true worshippers. The second thing that I want to focus on in this passage is the issue that Jesus brings about. He says God is a spirit. He says God is a spirit. What that tells me is that the location of worship is an essential. That you don't go to church for you to be a worshiper. You don't go to the place of worship for you to be a worshiper. Because God is a spirit, meaning that God is omnipresent, is everywhere. If you read Psalms 139, it tells us, where can I go and hide from the Spirit of God? Because God is everywhere. Therefore, we can worship God wherever we are. So the point here is that the place of worship is a non-essential in worship. For you to be a true worshiper, you need to connect with God wherever you are. Because you can go to church and worship but fail to connect with God. But you can connect with God wherever you are, because God is a spirit. God is a spirit. God is a spirit. That tells me that you can worship him anywhere and wherever you are. In fact, you don't go to church to worship. You are a church. And you can worship God wherever you are. This woman was bringing an issue of location when he told Jesus that we, the Samaritans, are worshiping on this mountain. But you Jews worship in Jerusalem. And he was saying that this is the right place to worship. And that is the wrong place to worship. But Jesus does not entertain that. In fact, he reminds the woman that God is a spirit. And if God is a spirit, therefore the location of the worship is a non-essential. You need to be a worshiper wherever you are. You need to be a worshiper on Monday, just as you are a worshiper on Sunday or Saturday if you go to church on Saturday. You need to be a worshiper throughout the day. You need to be a worshiper wherever you are. You need to connect with God wherever you are, because God is a spirit. And those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Then my last point that I want to share is in verse 23, Jesus tells the woman that God is looking for the kind of worshippers that worship him in spirit and in truth. I want to focus on that aspect of truth. I believe what Jesus is saying here is he wants sincere worshippers. He doesn't want fake worshippers. When he talks about truth, what he is telling us here is that you need to be sincere as a worshiper. So that my last point is for you to be a true worshiper of God. Or what kind of a worshiper are you? Are you worshiping God with sincerity? If you look at Matthew 15 verse 7 and 8, Jesus is quoting from Isaiah the prophet. And this is what he's saying. That these people worship me in vain because they worship traditions of men, but their hearts are far. They come to me to worship, but their hearts are far. In other words, God is telling us that we need to be authentic as worshippers, that we should not be fake worshippers, that we should be sincere worshippers, that we should be truthful, that we cannot say that we are worshiping God, yet we are living a life of a lie. So God is asking each one of us, what kind of a worshiper are you? So as I wrap up this presentation, I want to say this, that a time is coming from this passage, verse 23, where you shall no longer worship God on this mountain or in Jerusalem, because God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. For these are the kind of worshippers God is looking for. So as you worship God, check your lifestyle. Live a lifestyle that pleases God, a lifestyle of holiness. As you worship God, remember that the location is a non-essential, because God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. And finally, as you worship God, worship him in sincerity. Don't be a fake worshiper. Don't be an hypocrite. Don't be a worshiper who has God in the mouth, but he has the world in his heart. May the Lord bless you as you seek to become the kind of worshiper God is looking for. God bless you so much, and thank you.